repairing the rust around my windshield. Got as much gunk out of it as I could. Cleaned out the channel, sanded it. Also jamming the driver's door. Painted the inside of the black part that's painted. Now I'm getting ready to do the jams, the body color. And at the same time I'm doing this. And once I get the windshield back in, I will, and the jamming done on this door, I've done the jam on the other side. We'll be ready to start painting. I think I'm going to paint the roof by itself. It was originally a vinyl top car, so I can put the trim back on. It goes along here, and do the roof as its own section, and then I can just run around here and do the whole bottom half someday. Get this roof painted. I can't decide whether I'm just going to paint it body color or maybe do a black, because satin black kind of mimic the black vinyl top and everything. I haven't decided that yet. Getting some stuff done. Got the frame all epoxied and the clips. Finally some came in the mail. I reused what I could. I needed 7 more, and you cannot get the right size anymore. So here's an original one. See how skinny it is? And these are all you can get nowadays. Are these aggravating things, and I tried 2 different suppliers, and they all are the same. They say they fit, but they're not. They're not for a 70A body, I can tell you that much. See the difference in the thickness? They are, I don't know, somewhere around 1/8 of an inch too wide, which would make your trim too sitting high all the way around. You'd have a huge gap. So the 7 extra I needed, I had to modify these things. I smashed them down and closed in that gap. So you can see that's a new one there, but you can see how that lip overlays that screw head, whereas this lip doesn't even come close to that hole. So I just flattened out this lip that sticks out right there with a hammer, and then put it in a vise and just slightly squeeze them together to make them narrower, and hopefully they'll work. Like I say, there's only 7 spread all around, so I sure hope it works, because once you get the windshield in there with the gasket in there, you ain't gonna have much room to work with messing with those things. But next step is to put a window in. Maybe I'll start that tomorrow. Yikes. Well, here I am dry fitting the gasket before I start putting the adhesive on there just to make sure I don't have any surprises, but I mean, it seems to be pretty straightforward so far, except it sure fits tighter than I thought it would fit, even dry. But I'm trying to get that thing going. It wants to catch on that lip, so I can see where this is going to be pretty messy once you get the adhesive in there. Be pulling on and off and getting air everywhere, I can just imagine. So, seems to be a little short. You get up into this corner, so I had to kind of pull it over. And you can see there's still some play there. But I had to take this inner trim piece off because it was in the way. But this goes in there. And then the big question I've had from the very beginning was how this was going to work. Because there's really no lip at the bottom. Oh, okay. That just kind of falls right in. That's a lot easier than that. Okay. It goes right there, and then see this piece here, this big rubber flap just covers up all the way to the edge of the dash. And there's no lip down here. There is these little ears that are supposed to go right there. Okay. And then it just kind of just falls in there, apparently. And there's supposed to put a big bead of sealant all along the bottom there. That's where it's most likely to leak, I'm assuming, because there's no fence along the bottom. It's just like a groove or an edge. But that's looks like it's gonna stay in place. Okay, a lot of people I see doing it on there. This top piece keeps falling off on them. See, this is getting tight here. And this trim piece on this side flops over the headliner all the way across. You gotta make sure you get that in there. And then this just basically falls in. And then this, I need a light. There's that ear over here. It's supposed to go right in there. Like what the? Let's see, that ain't looking right to me. I guess it goes down. What is that supposed to? See, that solid piece goes on there like that, and then that is not falling in right. the hell? I don't get why it's catching on that clip. What? Am I gonna have to take that one off? You can see it wants to. It's got a space for this clip. It's like they put a groove in there for a fence, but there's no fence along here. It's just these tabs. There's a tab in the middle. It sits in. There's two tabs in the middle. And it seems to fit okay in there. Boy. I think I see what the problem is. Oh no, that's an original tab there. Original clip, I mean. Why? This is not going in here right. That's got to go down like that. Those tabs have got to fit in there. And these clips seem to be holding it up. Especially this one. This one seems to be alright. That one's alright. That one's alright. Well, I don't know. That's weird. I don't see what I'm doing wrong. I guess it's just pretty crappy fit on the bottom, damn it. See, that's what I was worried about right there. That and that. It's the same all along. Luckily, I still have the old gasket, so I can look at the bottom on this one. Half of it's been cut away, so it's kind of hard to tell exactly what's happening. But that's the bottom edge that I'm having trouble fitting in there. And if you notice, all along there, you have clearance for those clips. Cut that out. It's either conformed to that clip or it looks like it was molded that way to me. There's another one. That one looks more like it was cut. There's a groove there. There's a groove there. You can tell by the rust. There's a groove there. That one looks like it's molded. And this is too much junk over here. It looks to me like the only place they really put any sealant was on the bottom. I mean, as they installed it. Because in the groove here, that is not butyl cement in there. They put a bunch of rounds after they were done between the body and this. But the groove is dry. That's where it went on the fence all the way around. This was the groove. I cut from the groove off. It looks like a little was squeezed in there after the fact. None on the sides. That's the fence crack. And this is the glass. They put so much across the top. It looks like to me. But then it looks dry over here. Boy, they didn't use much in the glass groove itself. Most of it was spread around the outside in the body after it was done. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave it like it is. Looks to me like compression will push that lip down underneath there once I get the windshield in. Just laying this back, getting ready to put the bead along there. Got the windshield over here, ready to go. And here we go. Wow, this has been hell. I think I started about an hour ago. I got from there to there to get in, and it has fought me every inch of the way. But I found that along the top, the bottom and the sides weren't so bad, but when you start getting up here, where you gotta turn this corner over there and there, it just gets so tight, and the windshield doesn't want to push down. And so I found the best thing to do was to get inside and push, because you're just basically pushing the gasket back inside. So I got inside and flipped the lip up with a pry tool back over this so I can try to slide it down. And you ever get this thing going, it goes, but then it'll all of a sudden stop. I think like right there it's stopping. And if you pound on it a little, see how much has got to come from inside there. So I'm alternating, pushing on the inside and prying on the outside, and maybe I'll be done in a minute here. Here it comes. I can't get my finger out of there. Last couple inches. Come on, man. Can't get my fingers out of there. Got 1 inch. Come on. There we go. Pop. Pop. Goes the weasel. Well, it's in there. The next step will be to put this lock strip underneath there that tucks in that. This piece tucks under there, and it's relatively straightforward. You just got to do the whole soaping, prying thing all the way around, but at least you're not fighting the glass all the way. And that tightens that up against the windshield, but it's still wet from all the soapy water I got in there, and especially down the bottom where it all ran down. I'm thinking I'm going to let it dry for a day, let all the water get out of there, and just run a bead of the sealer just in there like that. It's definitely on the bottom, at least. Maybe not all the way around. I'm not sure what I want to do with that. I'm thinking I probably ought to at least do the bottom and halfway up the sides, or maybe all the way up the side. And then also I was worried about how it would do down here on the bottom with those clips. And you can see that they pretty much compressed the clips pretty much compress the rubber, or the rubber conformed pretty well around those clips. It's hard to see on here, but they definitely are pushing up into that. Maybe you can see it on this one. But the rubber seems to be pretty straight along the bottom, so you can kind of see from far away how it's compressing that rubber on the bottom. But that has sealant all the way across the bottom. The glass doesn't. So water running down the windshield, just sitting there, if this lip isn't tight up against that windshield, a tendency to creep on there just like that soapy water did. This locking lip will tighten it up a lot. So if I put that locking lip in there and try to put that caulk in later, there's no way. But it's still loose, and I can just run my nozzle of my gun, caulking gun, all around there. Shoot a bead of butyl sealant in there. And I'll just wait till tomorrow to do all that. So I think I'm just going to shut everything down for today. I decided to go ahead and run a bead against the glass in this bottom lip, and I'm putting in the lock part, tucking in the lock piece. I put a little WD-40 on this, make it slide a little better instead of the soapy water. And trying that, and it's a huge mess. I did the top and this side, half of the top. I'm just going around that way now to right there. Yeah. Guess I'm through. Cleaned it up. Not perfect, but good enough for now. I got it sealed all the way around the glass groove. Right on there. Of course, after it gets painted or whatever, if it ever gets painted, I'm not going to do any caulk in here now. So let's get masked off and then just spray into the groove with the paint. And then when I get ready to put the trim back on, the chrome trim, I'll fill this groove here all the way around with butyl sealant. And it'll never leak in a billion years. That's the main thing I'm after. I mean, it's not a perfect windshield by any chance, any means of the imagination, but hey, not bad. I can't imagine it's an original windshield, but it might be. It had started delaminating some around the edges, and hopefully, see, boy, that stuff gets on the windshield that was clean. I just smeared a bunch more of the butyl on there. I'll have to get off. WD-40. Anything can take it off. Mineral spirits, mineral spirits works, but not as good as lacquer thinner, or probably acetone. But I used lacquer thinner on most of it, but then when it came to this gasket here, I just used WD-40, and it does a good job. It will eventually evaporate. WD-40 isn't as volatile as lacquer thinner. Lacquer thinner evaporates a lot faster, and I needed more working time. So for the final cleanup around that rubber gasket, getting all the butyl off of that, off the paint of the car, where I got it on there, it worked really good. So I'm gonna quit for now. I think it's in there. And that's how the seal looks once it's tucked in all the way around. This little crack right there is where it tucks in all the way around.